What's good with it? In the hood with it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. What's cracking? I'm on the road, right? And I thought that if for no other reason, I'll drop a little spill, just a quick one. You know, I wanted to touch on this Pocho situation in a menudo style of direct fashion. For those of you that don't know what's going on with Pocho or who Pocho is, this is an individual who I fucked with, I would say about 2 years ago. You know, he reached out to me on Instagram and he said he was an observer of my channel. I won't say a fan or a supporter or anything like that, but he was an observer. And he's seen basically that the channel was coming up. And he caught it right when the channel was blowing up. This was my first channel before it got deleted and I had to move on to my second channel. Anyways, he seen that the channel was blowing up and he was like, you know what, Gun? I'm a photographer. I graduated from fucking Que La Chingada and fucking this and that. And maybe I could be of some assistance to you and I really support the channel and this and that. And I said, you know what? Just based on the conversations we had, I felt he was a good and cool individual. He said he was an ex-northerner from Santa Rosa and that he had kind of moved on in his life. Basically gave up the ghost, quit gangbanging and went back to school. Now, I don't know the gist of this guy's career or if he even went to the penitentiary or not. Doesn't matter, right? He once was a homie, he was a norteño, he was rocking, and he decided that for no other reason to take off the boots and put on some Jordans because they were more comfortable. Now, whatever the case may be, people can interpret that the way they want. They could say, oh, he's a dropout, he quit gangbanging, he bitched up or whatever, or they could say, you know, the guy was smart and he moved on in his life and decided it just wasn't for him. It's not for everybody. Now, having done a lot of time and kicked it with a lot of cats from Santa Rosa, you know, Santa Rosa is a very well-versed norteño town. A lot of norteños, some Southsiders out of that town, just good gente, good raza out of that town. And I respect Santa Rosa. So with him being from Santa Rosa and him treating me with the amount of respect that he was, it was all cool. And Pocho was good in my book. Now he said, hey, you know, if I ever needed assistance, he was a photographer and we can do this and that. And at that point in time, man, I didn't know what was going on with YouTube. So I wasn't really blowing up. I guess I was blowing up, but I wasn't really looking for any assistance. So anyways, we kept it cordial. We kept it cool. We kind of lost contact. Well, somewhere along the line, someone reached out to me and they were like, hey, are you dealing with Pocho? Because I guess he had given me a shout out on his channel or his Instagram or whatever the case may be. And I said, yeah, you know, I've had conversations with him. I know of him and I know who he is, but I've never kicked it with him like that. We're not friends, but we're associates, we're acquaintances. He seems cool to me. And then he started running me down on some allegedlys, right? And when I say the word allegedly, I mean, you know, allegedly as in, you know, allegedly this and allegedly that. He said some things that were rather unbecoming, some things that I thought were wow, you know, but of course with no paperwork and none of that bullshit. You know, again, I'm on the streets, I'm not in prison, I don't play that when I'm on the streets. I said, you know what, if for no other reason, I'm gonna give the guy the benefit of the doubt, and it's not like we kick it every day, so it is what it is. But just to clarify and to put out there without beating around the bush, some of these things that he was telling me were rather unbecoming, you know. They were of a sexual nature, they weren't cool. Okay, let's just put it like that. It wasn't no chomo shit or nothing like that. It was just, I guess he was pressing a little too hard on some women, man, and I guess they were feeling some type of way where they filed some harassments or whatever. Okay, this was coming from a guy who could have had an agenda, who could have just not liked him because he was rather playerish, or maybe he just pushed up on shit. I don't know. God, do you know? Shit, I don't, right? But one thing I do know for sure is it wasn't like we were best friends, so it was like, cool, whatever, man. I'm not trying to sit there and be he said, she said, and talk behind the guy's back. So it was what it was. Anyways, a couple years passes and I lose correspondence with the dude, you know. My Instagram is real flimmy-flammy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I do Instagram and sometimes I don't. So we kind of just distance ourselves from each other just based on we lost correspondence. Now, he pops up on the full community. Now, I've been tapping in with the full community for a very long time. You know, they drop a lot of good raza related content, a lot of good knowledge that you can't get in college, a lot of good stuff. You know, basically it's the hood news. It's the news for the raza, for the full community, for the people. And a lot of the stuff that I get from my spills, or a lot of the, you know, the culture and a lot of the clecha I get nowadays is from the full community. You know, they got some good game, man. They're always the first ones on it. They're like the fucking Mexican TMZ. So anyways, I stay tapped in with them and just watching what they got going on. With that being said, I see that they started a podcast recently. Now, when they started this podcast, I see Pocho popping up on it. Now, of course, I wasn't tripping. I was like, okay, there's Pocho. He's doing his thing. He's with LA Icon. You know, shit, more power to these vatos. They're getting it. And they got some good, you know, some good material, some good content, some good interviews. I seen they interviewed Gotos the other day, and that was a righteous interview, or was it? Okay, now, what I got to say about that was, you know, some people look salty in that interview. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to say the haterism was going on, but some people looked salty. Some people, it seemed like they were playing some type of north-south issue. I don't know what it was. It just didn't vibe right with me. I just didn't feel it, right? Maybe other people read into it quite differently, but I myself see it as, it seemed like one or two of the individuals were acting a little bit salty. Now, some of the questions that were asked to Gold Toes, I could see where they were trying to bait him, man. They were fishing. You know, when they talk about SPM, it seems like Gold Toes' name always comes up. Having him done business back in the past with with SPM, prior to SPM catching his cases and things of that nature. Now, one of the questions that was asked that caught me by surprise was, or didn't really catch me by surprise, but I seen it and I was like, okay, was the question of how did Gotos feel about, you know, SPM situation. And again, he said, man, you know, he's going to let the people read into it what they made. You know, that man's very intelligent and a very outspoken individual. But when it comes to questions about another man that this man had willings and dealings with and has respect for their family, I feel like they put him on blast. You know, they put him on the hot seat. That wasn't cool. But of course, man, when you go on a podcast, man, questions are going to be asked not to your liking. There's going to be questions asked. It's the hard, tough questions that, you know, people want to know. They want to know the answers to. But again, it seems like every time Gotos goes on one of these interviews, man, with these podcasts, the same questions get asked about SPM, like this vato is his compadre or something, like this vato fucking knows something we don't know. And maybe he does, perhaps. But at the end of the day, like Gotos answered, that's his fucking story to tell when he gets out, if he gets out. Now, those of us that don't support SPM and feel some type of way about what he did, that's just what it is. No one can change your mindset. Just like if you don't like someone, like the people that don't like me, they don't like me, they don't like me. I can't change their mind, and I don't intend to. And the same goes for that SPM character. Not that I'm even on that level, right? But whoever doesn't like him, and that's up to him to tell his story and not for Gotos to speak on it, to which he doesn't, man. I respect the way he gets down and the way he keeps it cordial, the way he keeps it respectful, and he says, hey, man, that's that man's story. I'm going to let him tell it. Now, I thought that was a little bit faulty with the full community, but again, I support the full community. I support what they got going on. And I know that in the past they've made comments as like they don't fuck with non-actives or dropouts and they're fully active or whatever the case may be. You're either a fucking podcaster or a gangbanger. You can't be both, man. That's just not the way it works out, and that's not the way it's not ever going to work out. But it is what it is, right? People can be whatever they want to be on YouTube, and that's cool. That's fine and dandy, like John Candy, the great outdoors. But one thing I know is for sure is when you got individuals that are in the game, rappers, comedians, actors, people that ain't playing that shit, people that ain't trying to go in and out of prison, man, it's kind of faulty when you try to act political around them. You know, we're talking about guys that, some of these guys ain't never been to prison, ain't trying to go to prison, don't even know how to spell prison. But people want to play the prison politics or the gang politics when they're really not active in the streets like that. They're just active behind a camera and a MacBook. So trip out. So this individual, Pocho, I see him asking questions, and I've questioned the validity of Pocho, you know, just a couple weeks ago, and this is why. And I'm gonna tell you why. It's not no hate or envy, because like I said, man, he always kept it cordial and respectful with me. Never spoke on my name, at least not to my face. So I have nothing bad to say other than I tripped out because some of these individuals in the food community over there are keeping it real Southern style, right? Which ain't a problem, man. Shout out to LA, shout out to the South, shout out to the Sud, all that. You know how I rock, man. Shout out to all the raza, regardless of where you're from. But they keep it real Sureño style or real Southsider style, and I respect that. But at the same time, you know, I respect everyone, and I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So when I see Pocho sitting there with the big old huelga bird on his knee, I questioned it. Like, you know, what does that say about vatos that saying they're active or vatos that are keeping it some type of way when this vato stepped back from the Norteño cause, stepped back from what he truly believed in the beginning, stepped back from his hood, and is no longer part of that, moved to LA, and now is sitting there on a podcast amongst other Southerners, or amongst Southerners, which is cool, man. You can rock with whoever you want to rock with, but with a big old huelga bird on your knee, talking about, you know, I don't fuck with non-actives and dropouts. That's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black, you know? Anyways, that's like calling Michael Blackson too black. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Now, I seen that and I questioned it, but that was just to myself. I didn't bring it up. I just said, wow, that's picking and choosing, I guess. But you know what? Hey, if a vato benefits you, if a vato is making skrilla at the end of the day and it floats your boat, that's it. Well, then by all means, float on, get your sail on. Now, recently, there's been something that happened behind the scenes, and a lot of people are asking me questions about it, and they're saying, hey, I heard Pocho got fired from the food community. I heard, you know, something happened. Something was brought to the attention of other individuals involved with that podcast, and Pocho is no longer with the podcast. I'm here to tell you from what I heard, and this is just word on the curb, man. Pocho is no longer involved with the podcast. Pocho did, in fact, get pushed off or pushed away from the podcast, got fired. Now it happens, just like with Adam 22's No Pumper, right? You know, he fires people. You know, that's what happens with podcasts, man. You don't see eye to eye, or one person's thinking a certain way and another person's thinking a different way. You know, shit happens like that, and it's just wild, right? That's the way the game goes. One thing I'll say for sure is, whether that vato's with them or he isn't, I pay it no never mind. You know, I think they're going to do what they do. The full community's been rocking. As far as their podcast goes, I stick more to their Instagram just based on I get a little bit more information there. I think it's a lot better. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's how I feel about certain situations. But at the same time, man, you know, I want to say that from what I heard by certain individuals, man, people I talked to, Pocho was fired because of a disagreement and because they just didn't agree on something. It has nothing to do with what he was accused of in the past. Now, I'm sure that was brought to the attention of some, and maybe that is why. One never knows, does one? Like I said, when I first heard it, it kind of went in one ear, but didn't go out the other, but I was kind of just like, okay, it's whatever, homie. You know, I'm not going to judge this man or knock this man because Sosa says so, right? You know, I'm not going to hang him out the helicopter like Omar. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, you know, I'm going to treat him with respect. If that was the case, if he was pushing up on women and doing some bad shit, well, I mean, fuck, it all come out one day and fucking you'll be with Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye. Someday you'll be together, right? You definitely don't want to be involved with shit like that. And, you know, I was never involved with that guy like that. So it was kind of just is what it is, man. You know, every dog has his day and every story has there's a story behind it. And I never questioned him on it. I never felt I had to. Someone told me that and it was just like, yeah, I don't do the pillow talking. I'm the talking behind the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and let it go, man. And I'm not going to expose it or push it or drop something on it because I don't give a fuck in the first place. Second of all, and I don't know. You know, I can't call it like an alcoholic. But if he did get fired because of that reason, well, then maybe they know something more than we know. You know, I don't know if this is the first time you're hearing it or if you even give a fuck or know who Pocho is. But the only reason I wanted to drop something on it because I was concerned with, you know, the full community and what they got going on because I'm a big supporter. Now, I don't give a shit about these podcasts that say, oh, we don't support non-actives, we don't fuck with non-actives. I'm sure there's a lot of non-actives that fuck with you and support you. And that's all that matters to me. But anyways, I was tripping out on it. I seen that Pocho's no longer with them. I tapped in with a couple guys that I know personally that said, yeah, he's gone. And it just is what it is. Now, I'm sure everything would come out for those of the people that like drama and want to hear about it. But so it's going to come out then. With me, I'm going to step back from that and just say, you know, hey, Pocho's no longer with the full community. Maybe that's a blessing. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it just didn't work out. Now, this guy is very well versed in culture, does a lot for the raza in his community, and has basically been rocking like that. But like I said, man, if he got caught up in a bad situation or there was negative light shed on his character or his name, that's just part of the game, man. It happens every day, you know. Shit happens to me. Everyone got something to say, and I'll just take it with a grain of salt and keep on pushing. You watch me or you don't watch me, that's totally up to you, man. I'm gonna keep doing what I does, cuz. And on power, that's all I can do, you know. I can't sit here and play the role and act like I'm some active gang member and I'm really hardcore, because I'm not, man. I'm an old man just trying to live and feed my kids. That's it. That's all it's ever gonna be with me. Anyways, with that being said, now that you guys have looked at the hairs in my nose for long enough and the gray in my beard, respects, man. Respects to all the gente. You guys have a great 4th of July. I will be dropping a spill tomorrow in la mañana. You already know what it is. We're going to get it in. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, man, don't be a fool. Tap in with the fool community. Don't be a sucker. Tap in with Gunners Collective. And don't be no hater. Tap in with all the other channels, man, regardless if they like me or not, because it's all respect on minds. And with that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's gonna be the head that wears this crown. I'm gonna continue to strive and struggle and strive for what I truly and honestly believe in, and that's doing what I does, cuz. And I ain't never gonna stop, man. But Gunner, you's a sucker. Am I? One never knows, does one. Bang, bang.